Good evening, super horror family and guests, and welcome to another episode of Whispers in the Dark. I'm your host Eddie, bringing you the stories that chill the spine and stir the imagination. But before we dive into the depths of tonight's ancient mysteries and supernatural encounters, I want to take a moment to acknowledge a very special group of people. People who in their own way might have given us our first introduction to the world of mystery, magic, and wonder. Our first protectors, our first teachers, our mothers. To all the mothers listening tonight, we wish you a happy Mother's Day. We thank you for the stories you've told us, the lessons you've taught us, and the love you've given us. You've shown us the magic in the world, and sometimes even how to fight off our own personal monsters. And speaking of monsters, it's time to buckle up, because tonight we're going back to the land of ancient sands, cryptic symbols, and time-worn tombs. If you haven't seen part 1, The Mummy's Curse Uncovering the Secrets of Akhenra, I suggest you go and watch it now. There's a link in the description and in the pinned comment. You'll enjoy this story more if you do. Now, let's dive into tonight's tale of the Mummy's Curse, where the line between scientific skepticism and supernatural realities blur. The last story ended with, the nightmare was over, for now, and now we're here, where it begins again. Back at the university, the archaeology team was met with derision and mockery. Everywhere they turned, someone was talking about how the team wasted their time going into the wilderness, got high, and thought they saw something. The higher-ups were a little less critical, but not by much. Still, whether they were high and got lucky, or by any other means, the photographs of the tomb were real. Dr. Sarah was, however, warned the only reason why they would send out a hazmat team is because it was a real-world scientific solution. The college did not want its donors thinking they were endorsing any kind of hokum. The straightforwardness of the conversation helped put Dr. Sarah's mind at ease. A team of hazmat specialists would be sent out the next day and were instructed to take as long as they needed to ensure the safety of the archaeology team. That night, Dr. Sarah's dreams were filled with unspeakable horrors. She stood, helpless in the vast echoing chamber of the tomb, its walls closing in, suffocating her. Every surface was crawling with shadows that twisted and coiled up like serpents. They whispered her name, their voices a chilling blend of malice and mockery. The whispers grew louder, transforming into ear-piercing screams. She looked down to see her hands covered in a thick black substance. It clung to her, seeping into her skin, turning her veins black. Her screams echoed in the darkness as her body crumbled to dust, leaving her a mere shadow, a phantom trapped in the tomb for eternity. The next day, Dr. Sarah immediately went and told James about her nightmare. James was in shock. He also had a sleepless, nightmare-filled night. In his dreams, James found himself standing in a vast desert, the sun's merciless rays beating down on him. The sand under his feet shifted and moved like a living entity. And in the distance, he saw a figure slowly advancing towards him. As the figure drew closer, he saw it was a woman, or at least, what used to be a woman. Her eyes glowed, and her skin was gray and stretched taut over her skeletal frame. Her fingers ended in razor-sharp claws, and she was clothed in rags and bandages. The woman stretched out her hand towards James, and in her palm was the gold chain they had found. As he reached out to take it, the chain slithered up his arm like a snake, winding itself around him, constricting his breathing. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The witch's laughter rang in his ears as the world around him darkened and he was sucked into the ground, into the tomb, into the eternal darkness. While the two of them were comforted by the fact that the hazmat team was going out there today, it was odd that they both had such eerie dreams. The team of hazmat specialists was led by a seasoned investigator named Mark. They were dispatched to the tomb to check for mold or other hallucinogenic substances. The morning was bright and sunny, not a cloud in sight. Dr. Sarah made sure her cell phone ringer was on, so she wouldn't miss any possible updates. In the middle of the day, a storm appeared out of nowhere. The sky turned black as night as the winds picked up, ultimately causing a power outage at the college. Most field teams will bring their own generators, but just in case the hazmat team didn't, Dr. Sarah wanted to reach out to them to tell them where her generators were, as everything was left behind. She called, but no one on the team answered. She asked James to try, but no one answered for him either. Cell phone reception is nearly non-existent in that tomb. They're probably working, said James, trying to sound optimistic. You're right. We should get back to work too, replied Dr. Sarah. With each passing hour, Dr. Sarah became more anxious. But it wasn't just Dr. Sarah. After checking, it was discovered the entire archaeology team had nightmares the night before and could feel an oppressive heaviness in the air, and researching only appeared to make it worse. In the midst of the heaviness, Lucy, a research assistant, stumbled upon a disturbing revelation. Buried deep in the annals of Egyptian history was the tale of a dark witch named Sekhet, known to be closely associated with Pharaoh Akhenra. Sekhet was feared for her blood magic and known to sacrifice her assistants to keep her magic hidden and her power growing. To make things even worse, the actions of the archaeology team matched the ancient rites to resurrect Sekhet. They had disturbed her gold chain, returned it to Akhenra's mummy, and possibly inadvertently sent in Mark's team to be sacrificed, fulfilling the curse and allowing Sekhet to walk the earth once more. The realization was a cold punch to the gut. If Sekhet was indeed alive, she would be coming for them next, as they were the ones that assisted her with the magic, and her assistants were always killed. The wave of panic that swept over the team was palpable. The realization of the deadly predicament they were in struck them all with terrifying clarity. They had to find a way to counteract Sekhet's devastating magic before she found them. In a race against time, they began to prepare. Dr. Sarah, armed with her extensive knowledge of ancient text, spearheaded the desperate search, looking for any Egyptian magic spells or rituals that could reverse the curse. Simultaneously, she instructed the team to gather the books and head to the college artifacts vault. It was both very secure and contained many of the college's most valuable artifacts they might need to counter the dark magic. The rest of the team did as she asked. They carried the books to the artifact vault and aided in the scouting of the text. The lively, vibrant campus had transformed into a ghost town, the deafening silence only punctuated by the sporadic flashes of lightning illuminating the darkened hallways. And that's only if you were lucky enough to be in the hallway. The artifact vault had no windows. It looked like a poorly lit tomb. Their feverish reading inside the vault began to be punctuated by the sounds of terrified screams. Sekhet must be on the campus looking for them, her chilling presence leaving a trail of lifeless bodies in her wake. Each soul she consumed fortified her, increasing her strength and magic. Dr. Sarah had discovered an ancient ritual with the potential to stop Sekhet's curse. It was a meticulous process, requiring the alignment of rare elements. Each carried energies that, when harmonized, could disrupt the curse. Using their cell phone flashlights, they were able to find the pieces they needed: an obsidian bowl, a vial of water from the Nile, sacred lotus remnants, and a scroll inscribed with protective hieroglyphs. However, they were lacking one crucial component: a powerful talisman, a symbol of strength, renowned for its protective properties against dark magic. They desperately searched, but their efforts were fruitless. Dr. Sarah remembered seeing it in the college's vault in the past, but the talisman seemed to have vanished. As the ominous sounds of Sekhet's approach echoed closer, the team's desperation escalated. Their time was running out. James frantically began arranging the pieces on the floor and said, "Maybe we could arrange the parts we do have. What if Sekhet saw it and thought we had what we needed? She could back off. Or maybe there would be enough magic to just neutralize her magic, not send her back." Just then, Sekhet walked into the vault's entrance. The team clustered together behind their in-progress ritual. Sekhet looked at what was assembled on the floor, and then curiously up at the crew. Everyone held their breath. Did it work? After examining everything for a few moments, Sekhet continued walking towards the archaeologist. Dr. Sarah was completely frozen as she watched the Egyptian witch walk towards her. Then she felt something. It was one of her assistants, holding her arm. This was her first dig, and with that realization, Sarah was suddenly animated. The talisman in the ritual was meant to be a symbol of strength and unity. Dr. Sarah didn't have the talisman, but she did have a photo from her first dig. She always kept it with her. It was a symbol of unity and shared passion for the unknown. For her, it had always been a source of strength. Sekhet started to lift her arm and hungrily stretched her fingers towards the team. Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out the photo. This pushed Sekhet back. Sekhet looked on, angry and confused by what was happening. Sarah placed the photo in the obsidian bowl, where the talisman would have belonged, and everything began to glow. A strange humming sound began emanating. No one moved. They all listened closely. The sound wasn't coming from the ritual. It was coming from Sekhet. The team watched as Sekhet stood there, frozen, emanating this strange sound. Black sludge began coming out of her nose, ears, eyes, and mouth. The sound began to get louder and higher pitched. The team all went to the floor and covered their ears and faces. When they looked up, there was only ash and bandages where Sekhet once stood. The storm that had gripped the campus dissipated as quickly as it had appeared, and the oppressive darkness lifted. The team was safe. The tomb was sealed. The mummy's curse was lifted. And so, dear listeners, we close the creaking crypt on tonight's tale. We've traveled together through the unforgiving sands of Egypt, faced down the resurrected menace of an ancient witch, and found courage in the shared strength of a brave team of archaeologists. It seems that even in the face of supernatural threats, humanity's strength and unity have a magic all of their own. A magic that reminds us of the protective force of our mothers, always ready to stand up against anything that might harm us. As we say goodnight, I want to extend my warmest wishes once again to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day. Your courage, love, and strength are the very essence of the enchanting tales we share here on Whispers in the Dark. You're the original heroes of our childhood stories, and our first protectors against the things that go bump in the night. And to all our listeners, remember, the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered, full of whispers in the dark waiting to be heard. Keep your ears open, and your minds curious, and your hearts brave. Until next time, I hope you all sleep well. But remember, on this channel, sweet dreams are not guaranteed. Good night.